This is Marian Davis, author, illustrator, and publisher of Chicken and Pickle children's book series, and this is episode 6 of The Dan Show.
Danni.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
I'm so glad you could come out today, and I look forward to talking to you. And also, shout out to the first, is female a good word? Woman.
I don't mind.
What's a good word?
I don't mind.
It's sad that you have to ask these questions. Shout out to the first woman guest of the Dan Show.
We've been trying hard.
We've been trying to figure out a good person, and Danni is definitely one of the more interesting people I've known and met over the years.
Yay.
First of all, I just want to start off by how me and you met. I met you when I was in 10th grade and you were in 9th grade. You're 06, right? Mm-hmm. We met in Spanish class, Mr. Bali's Spanish class.
We did.
That was a mostly 9th grade class, but I was a 10th grader in it.
Oh, I thought it was opposite. Didn't I end up being in an upperclassman class?
Yeah. Oh, that actually is it.
Yeah.
It's a 10th grade class, and you were in it because of right. I knew it was something. It was a weird dynamic.
Yeah,
I wasn't around.
I wasn't trying to say it like that.
No.
That's the only reason I met all of y'all.
If anything, I was making myself look like I got held back.
Like, dang, that's
like I was learning with the 9th graders. No, that ended up actually happening to me when I was in 12th grade.
Oh, okay.
I had to retake a 10th grade Spanish class because unfortunately Mr. Bali failed me. So unshout out to Mr. Bali.
I'm not gonna lie, that was a very interesting class.
Yeah,
too.
she wasn't. She was the first fake woke person ever. But never mind. Met you in her class, and I remember you and Jelani was also in the class.
Was it Jelani Knight?
Yes.
I don't remember.
Yeah, right. I remember that's how I met both of y'all, and we became very like we didn't become besties, but I would see you around the hallway and say something to you, and you know. It's just funny, like I was telling Elon, you look back and you're like, man, how do I really know these folks?
For real.
And it either be through random Grady interactions or person that knew of somebody who went to Grady. But
Midtown High School now.
Yeah, right, which is now Midtown High School. Shout out to Midtown High.
Shout out to Midtown.
Yeah, I Googled Grady in the first
does
and it
not
doesn't even
exist.
come up anymore.
Or even random, like knowing people who knew somebody who you were in the same room, you know, and just energies, I think, kind of mesh together. Not to mention y'all were funny. And that was that class was funny.
Well, so I guess I failed that. I'm a little bit salty about that. In case I'm not going to talk too much about it. But I guess the reason I failed that class is like that lady was real strict and she didn't like that, like people, I guess the attention would be on me sometimes and not her.
Yeah.
And it don't even be on purpose all the time. I guess that was her beef with the old class trying to do her job. And she couldn't do good if she had a control. But
which she did not maintain.
Right,
she
which
wasn't
never
very
happened.
interesting.
But yeah. Well, where are the subscribers going, Joe? That's the new catchphrase. Where are the subscribers going? I liked her. Somebody's watching it.
Mr. Bali's podcast.
Right. The name of her podcast is Fake Woke.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But in Espanol, though. I don't know.
Espanol.
Fake woke in Espanol.
She's like, I'm a Spanish teacher. Like, you're an actor. You're an actress.
She was. It was funny.
I don't remember which one Mr. Bali.
She's somebody who probably tried out for girlfriends, and they was like, yeah, we'll reach back out.
Oh, I do remember her
call
face.
us, but don't.
Yeah,
we'll call you. Don't call us.
But there was in another class though, because then I was at some point introduced like the whole crew, and that was I don't want to call you a circus.
That was post, yeah.
But it was highly entertaining.
So yeah, that was probably around 2007 or 2010, maybe 2008 through 2012.
I'm gonna tell you, I don't remember.
That was post high school.
None of y'all from high school.
Oh.
I don't like Steph, you, Shy. Like I don't even remember Shy. I know she went to North Atlanta, but like she would be over there. Like I don't remember none of y'all from high school. But I was also just kind of like a nerd and like awkward in high school, so I didn't really know nobody in high school. So
I feel like I interacted with you a few times.
Probably did, but like I was probably in
not
my own
longevity.
bubble. Yeah,
I got you.
But yeah, then we reconnected once. Like I was living on Castleberry then, and we used to just have some ridiculous weekends
That was fun.
Yeah, it was a fun
just
time.
Hanging out.
I used to always have my little birthday tradition. I still do my birthday tradition. If I don't, I always have people over for my birthday and we cook food and stuff. I don't remember that now. Oh yeah, you went to one. My mama cooked a bunch of food. And it was like 50 people on this second floor Castleberry apartment.
I do remember that. And all gathered around on like the couch. Remember, it's like 20 people like on the couch with like a little side. Yeah.
So it was definitely lit. The point is, I was just thinking the other day, like thinking about what stuff to talk about, blah blah blah, and I was like, how do I know Danny? Like, how does all this Grady reconnection kind of came back together? Because, like I was telling Elon, it's not like we was besties, but I now look at we're here.
Yeah, we connect. Yeah, definitely.
So you mentioned something about a recent trip you took. Where was that?
I went to Madrid, Barcelona, Venice, and Milan.
Whoa.
So Spain and Italy.
Now, was this a leg of trips that were these just bucket list trips, or were you like, I'm just going to go to these because they're all close?
So I always wanted to do that. I was planning on doing that like in 2020, and then everything went down. And they're very close, so you can get on a train and you can hop like one to another. Yeah. So that's really normally when people talk about like European tours or something like that, they do that. And really what happened is I had a friend who had an entire trip planned for herself because she wants to visit like 4 countries every year. And so everything, I'm not even gonna lie, was like already paid for. And she was like, if you can get yourself here, you mean you can tag along? And I'm like,
that's the best.
Oh, I couldn't miss it. So I really just like only told my mom and now you guys in the world. But I just hopped on it and went.
That's the best way to travel.
Yeah. That's really awesome. Yeah. So was that your first international trip?
Oh, no. I've been to Japan, South Africa, Thailand, China, Bahamas, and
so you're well traveled. Would you consider yourself well traveled?
She said she thinks that.
Or do you have a lot more on the list, the bucket list?
I think I just like to go with the flow. So I like experience, and I like culture. I like people.
Yeah, I like that too.
So I like to see how other people live, to see what's important. Because, being Black American, we don't have, our culture is in struggle. Our culture is in like the lack of history. Yeah. And trying to always piece it together. So I'm always interested in just other people, how they have maintained their culture over years. And, I don't have necessarily, I have an allegiance to the Black culture, but like, there's no way I can ever really know where I came from. So I just kind of take in the human experience at that point.
That's super. That's about the deepest statement that's been made on this podcast. Yeah. Whew, man. No, I totally agree with that. And the more I travel and the older I get, that's what I go to places for, is to like, I want to see like the rundown parts of it. I want to see the historical parts of the city. I don't want to see the new, like we can go to dinner at these places, but like I'm not interested in those parts portion of the city. I really be wanting to learn about a city's culture and history. And like I said a few episodes ago, I don't have my passport, but I'm getting it. Like I've filled out the application and everything.
That's all it takes.
Finna go down there and holler at them folks with the money, but now that things are like for sure back open up and it's not so many like restrictions for traveling or like things you have to do to travel, I'm definitely about to like hit up Costa Rica is on my
nice.
Costa Rica and Colombia.
That's
an easy leg. You can just kind of fly right out from Atlanta or from Florida, and it's just right over the pond. It's not a tough one.
Yeah.
Whereas going to Europe and stuff, my big ass can't afford no first class flight. I had to be in a Comfort or something.
Yeah, because it does take a minute.
Whew.
Well, you know what? If you break it up, then it's a little bit better. Because you can do like maybe 5 hours at a time or like 7 hours at a time, then get off for layovers. It's you have to kind of be a little adventurous for that, and you have to be able to adapt. So basically, fly
over the water and then pit stop in the Bermuda Triangle.
I was trying to think where?
Well, I did a 7 hour. I'm saying like, okay, I did a 7 hour flight, and I know that was like Milan. Another one. How did I come from here? I went to Portugal. Yeah. So that's like was it 10 or something like that? So it's like broke. I was asleep.
The first land you was over, you just hit it.
Right.
And then
exactly. Exactly.
Where are the layovers at?
And mine was in Portugal.
Oh, okay.
So I came from, which by the way, I mean, because the COVID test, I had gotten delayed for a whole day. And I got stuck in Jersey. So it was like Atlanta to Jersey, and then it was Jersey to Portugal. And then it was Portugal to Spain. Okay. So you get like a little bit of break. Okay, first lane you see, like you said, first lane you see, stop. Stop there. Yeah.
Cool.
One bad.
Yeah, break it up halfway and what I want to hear when I'm on a plane.
We're gonna put the buoys out right now. If you guys like to take a dip.
Right now we're just gonna land right here on this island.
Do you remember the life jackets that we told you?
Oh my God! When they go through that little portion of the spiel, I'll be like, bro, that better not happen.
I do too.
Because first of all, no one's gonna follow these. Like, please document how many people actually just remain calm and be like, oh, shit's getting weird.
People are
pay attention during this portion.
No, people are going to scream. Let's put our mask on first before the others.
They told us what to do.
People are gonna like,
hey, what are you panicking for? We'll be
fine. What to do. Don't worry about the fucking wing that just snapped off the plane.
Is that water falling again? You know what to do. Grab that baby.
Are we upside down?
The Florida Everglades will be safe once we hit the water.
It's fine. Yeah. No, I don't know how that's gonna go. That's one of the reasons I didn't become a flight attendant. Because I was just feeling like statistically.
Yeah, right.
I'm a better chance of not traveling as
basically, my name's in the hat.
Right. I'm not trying to do that over and over and over.
I think about that a lot too when I fly. I just see people like working and doing their thing. I was like, these folks really just at work.
Yeah.
Just on a plane in the air. Like they work in the air.
Man, shout out to flight attendants.
Shout out to
they on a strike now.
They should be. Yeah, well, all these airlines that got so much money last year and furloughed thousands of employees, they now are begging people to come back to work and don't want to pay them no more, don't want to restore old benefits, like want to like hit a new business model, and these folks is looking like, are you crazy?
Quiet as kept, the travel industry is making a ton of money, but like it's just kind of fucked up.
Yeah, it is. And you know, they get a lot of kickbacks and benefits from the government, and you know, they get funding, and it's pretty gross how now that the economy's come back, just the companies expect for things to just go right back to what it was before. Yeah. And it's like, unless y'all flip them books open and wrote a new business model, folks ain't trying to fuck with you.
Yeah. And it's just like tellers all the time. Because, I mean, at this point, I feel like the oppressed are tired of the oppression.
Oh,
I mean, you think about how much, like, some people got rest during COVID, some people didn't. But you just think about, like, how much of your life has always been spent going, being cattle.
People got to breathe last year. An unexpected breath. It was a long breath, and some people still going through it, but a lot of people found themselves last year. A lot of people found out that themselves were weird too last year, but you know, a lot of people gained a lot of positivity unexpectedly from their job, just saying like, hey, we don't know what to do, but we also just cashed our stimulus check too, but we can't figure out how to keep you employed, But you know, but that's just the irony of it all. Is just like we're talking now, and it's summer of 2021. And the economy, like on paper, looks like it's doing great again. Yeah. But folks ain't back work.
No.
You go to a restaurant, and if the restaurant's full, they are half staffed.
Yep.
You go to any fast food, the door's locked. You can't go in. And it's signs saying, now hiring immediately.
Oh, anywhere you go, it's not hiring.
So I mean,
a cash bonus just for signing.
Yeah, that's a sign that like finally at one point, this is one of the few points in history where like the working class has leverage. They had the most leverage last year. Yeah. Like it should have been a full-on strike last year, and then these companies would have already
started paying up for stuff.
Yeah, they would have started
or
getting
at least like start like scaling back on like how many workable hours. I really don't feel like anybody who's working 40 hours a week should ever not be able to provide anything for themselves. Ever. I mean,
there's so much time.
They're putting in so much time. And you know, it should be basic living.
It's hindsight is 2020. It's easy to look back and say like this is what should have happened.
Always.
But this is a good point where the working class has leverage and hopefully can make a big enough voice for the claim to make more. They like that minimum wage debate needs to stop. It needs to just happen. Stop talking about it. You can't keep talking about stuff like that. That's what's stupid about this political. That's what's stupid on both ends.
In politics,
people just want to talk and no action actually takes place. Yeah. And unless the topic have to do with making someone money, it will not get addressed. You'll only hear about it on CNN or Fox News, and you'll only just hear people yapping their fucking mouths, and no one's accomplishing anything.
Right.
Even if you sound smart doing it, you're not accomplishing anything but just going to work that day, being a correspondent, being what they call a journalist these days, which is you work for a media monster.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. I think I think communication at this particular point of life, but it's always kind of been like this far. It's just polarizing.
I think bad.
Politics are polarizing. I mean, I might align with more, let's say, Democratic views, but that doesn't mean that everything that Republicans feel or understand or perceive is completely wrong. But it's like, no, it's not a lot of space in our society right now for hearing from everybody's point of view.
You will never be right if your ears are like, you can never be right if your ears are closed.
Never.
And that's the climate of society we live in is people have their stances, their firm stances on something, and they're not willing to learn.
Right.
You also not allowed to make mistakes these days.
Oh, God.
You make one mistake and it's over with.
God.
You're done. You're just ousted. And it's like, last time I checked, how did you learn things? You did it wrong the one time, and then you did it wrong maybe a second time. You're like, okay, this is a learning experience.
This is not what I want to do anymore.
You know, some mistakes are dumber than others. But
common sense isn't always that common.
Yeah, it's just so sad that
or even like you're not allowed to expand and grow your frame of thought. Like you could have said something, let's say 50. I don't want to say 50 years ago, because I don't know nothing about 50 years ago. But you could have said something, let's say 5 to 10 years ago, and now you're saying something different, and people are like, oh, but you said,
oh, this you?
Yeah, and it's kind of like, that is me. But I'm like, also 10 years over. And I also lost people at that time, and I gained people at that time.
Or I was just an idiot back then.
I was stupid. I was an adolescent.
Sorry, I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like, within the past 5 years, especially in the past couple years with the cancel culture movement, every prominent movement that have come along in the past 10 years, they all start as a positive thing, but unfortunately we live in an age where everybody, even like idiots, have platforms too. There's smart people have platforms. Also, there's more idiots than smart people. It have to be. It have to be, dog.
It's always been that way, unfortunately.
Yeah, right. That'd be the struggle of life. But all of these movements start off as a good thing, but then slowly but surely, everybody that just wants to get clout off of the movement start attaching themselves to it, and then you forget what the movement was even about.
Yeah, what
so
the
like
conversation
even
was
with like
about.
you know, you can name all of them from Me Too to BLM to whatever. They all start off as good things, and then the waters just get muddied and muddied and muddied, and then after a while you don't even know what the movement is anymore.
Yeah.
So with cancel culture, it's become comical at this point.
Yeah.
Obviously,
reverse cancel culture.
Yeah, right. I mean, at this point, unfortunately, they've gotten a handful of people in the past year.
Yeah.
Some people's career have been pretty finito, or
and
they
some
had to
deservingly.
live. Yeah, and they've had to live in the corners and like the abyss of their respective
industries.
fields.
Yeah.
But also, it's just like, hey, like, no one asks for like field monitors and bus monitors and hall monitors, like, and internet monitors. Like, who appointed you all to be this?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that that's coming to a point where it's a joke, and a lot of people what's funny is you give fuel to the fire of the other side that already have framed a picture about you. You give them a reason to talk shit about you when you participate in shit like this, or when you act like, let me just say what society would want me to say, or, you know, it's just weird. It's a very sheep herdish
kind of feeling,
kind of society and culture we live in. I'm not quite sure how we even got on this tangent. I guess it's just unfortunate that we live in such a polarized era to where like I don't feel comfortable talking about this stuff unless it was close friends or family members. I'm not ever going to talk to a stranger about politics.
So I can kind of like, this is funny because I don't know how we got on it, which is fine.
Talking about the pilots.
But that's what it was. But at the same time, it's funny we're talking about it because that's also why I started writing it to begin with. So my degree is in psychology. Like we said, I love people. I like studying people, black people, all that kind of stuff. But I just always have noticed communication is like really important, really key. And sometimes there are triggers that you can be triggering to each other in a conversation, and it polarizes the conversation immediately.
Right.
Sometimes it's like past history, somebody's history or who they've been or what they've experienced, and you kind of hit on that and it polarizes the conversation immediately. Sometimes there's a level of grace that people just don't necessarily understand or have been taught. And I just feel like if we could be a little bit better about that, we could possibly create or, evolve into a society where that does not necessarily have to be the case. You can have your opinion.
Right.
I can have my opinion. You can have your experience. I can have my experience. When you're learning how to actively listen, when you're learning how to be mindful, when you're learning how to be self-aware, some of the things that would normally bother you or you feel like you have to project, you don't necessarily have to project, or it doesn't have to bother you because it's not necessarily a representation of you. It's not a challenge to you. And I think a lot of times when we're having these conversations, if you disagree or if you have had a different experience, it feels like a challenge.
It's like an attack.
An attack.
Right.
And it could be something as simple too as your tone. If I had, I'll just say like a mom who yelled at me all the time or sounded a certain way when she talked about this. If you even remotely sound like my mother, I'm coming for your neck, just immediately. So I think if you're aware of that, like socially, then you can kind of avoid some of the landmines and pitfalls. I'm not going to say I've successfully done it all the time because I can get, my personality, I can debate.
Yeah.
So sometimes I can be like reeled into a debate.
Me too, man. Or I could be the fly on the wall and just I keep hearing you just run your mouth and be just wrong. And I'm the kind of guy where I like to ask questions. I like to ask very baseline questions that you should be able to answer, but based on your rationale and your train of thought, you're pretending to ignore things. So I like to ask you the in between the line questions. Yeah. That you absolutely know the answer to, but you're going to pretend and dance around it. Yeah. So then people don't be liking once I get to that moment because I'm coming off as a dick, and I guess I'm being that. But I'm just going to keep asking you the same question until you actually answer it and stop doing all that fairy tale shit. Yeah.
And that's a part of self-awareness that people have to be more comfortable in being self-aware because nobody likes to be wrong, but it's a lot when you know you're wrong. Just being able to admit you're wrong, letting that be, and not seeing that as a complete sign of weakness. Like being able to, okay, this might put me in a position that I might have to defend at some point, whatever, but I'm not going to just double down on my wrong. Yeah, and I think sometimes people like get into that and it's like the whole group knows that you're doubling down on being wrong, but you're like projecting that you're, I don't know. I don't know if it's something they know or not.
Like doubling down on being wrong only makes you feel worse and worse because you know you're wrong and everyone's looking at you crazy. Yeah. To immediately be like, and I do this all the time.
Your pride is steering you off a cliff.
Yeah.
Just anytime I realize, I'm wrong, I'm like, oh damn, I was wrong about that. It's so refreshing. Yes. I feel like a brand new person every time. Like, you know what? You're right. You're right about that.
It's like a tea kettle. Yeah. You kind of release it. I don't know if anybody brews tea. Let me not say that because that's an old, for me, let me not do the tea kettle thing.
Don't let the British catch a hold of that one. They're going to be.
No, but I mean, it's like a pressure cooker. How about that? And it's like if you push that little button on the pressure cooker that lets the steam out, you just kind of bring everything back down. And so I feel like sometimes when people are doubling down on being wrong, it's boiling. And we're all looking at you boiling. And some people trying to get you off of boiling. Some people just like, I don't know what to say. And if you just push that button, you'll release it for all of us.
So 2 things I noticed about people amongst our age and then older people, and then we'll talk about the book. Okay. Is it seems like we're obviously in a very fragile society, and I think it's been it's been real easy for humans the past like 30 or 40 years. Like, it's just been nothing but, ain't been no mate other than the war on terrorism, which that was some other shit. Like, we haven't really had it too hard. And I think people are just very soft, just in general, our version of humans. But my point in saying that is, one, people can't be corrected. No one wants to be corrected, even if they're obviously wrong and you're doing them a favor. Like, oh no, actually, like that's off. This is this. That's a challenge to be corrected. Two, people don't want to. It's kind of like this thing where rules don't apply to them, or you can't tell somebody that being out of line, basically. Like, it's just all people. There's some resistance to like rules and being corrected that is behavior that is prevalent in like teenagers, but you're supposed to grow out of that. Yeah. But it be some full-on adults that be maneuvering through life, and people just kind of live on their own bubble of, well, whatever my rules are is how it is. And even though there's rules that everybody has to follow, I don't have to follow those rules.
My rules are my rules.
Yeah.
And it's just so weird. I just wonder what brings on this behavior, because it's a lot amongst, like, I'd say 25 to 45-year-olds.
Americans.
So that would be the critique I would say for our age group, is like, hey, just because like you think you live in either internet bubble or a social bubble or a financial bubble, it's just like you have to still play a part in society. You still have to. You're still a part of society.
Once you log out,
whereas people don't really seem. The polarization is coming down to like almost past the political level. Mm-hmm. Everybody's just kind of separating themselves into their own faction of whatever
it is they believe.
And I just see it a lot at work. I just see it a lot with just the common behavior of adults, that a lot of adults act like teenagers.
Yes.
And it's so weird.
It can't be correct.
And I'm not the most, it's like, oh, well, this is the Dan mature hour. But the other thing I wanted to say about what we were saying before about like how a change does need to be made with opposing views. I think a lot of the older people are in control of a lot of the political sector and the government, and all the decision making is being led by very old people.
Yeah.
And there's just no real representation for us yet, but our generation is up next.
It's growing.
So all of these things that I just went on a tangent about, just of observation of my peers, it worries me because I don't see us. I think we're a lot more intelligent than our
predecessors.
Predecessors. Not to saying that old people aren't wise, which that's up for debate. I
know a lot of wise old people. Right. But our worlds have been expanded in a way that did not exist for them before.
Yes.
And the amount of information that we take in on a regular basis, on a daily basis, was something that they had to physically go walk to the library to get.
Right.
And we just within seconds have it.
Yeah.
I think that to your point, I totally agree with that. I think that we're just in an era of really identifying that hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
And so if you're thinking about like where we are as a society and in our age range, I think black, white, and other, but just in the scope of America, I'm always seeing like the connection of going all the way back to just like not doubling down on being wrong, not addressing slavery, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's the pressure cooker. You know, I think we're at a real point in just our lives and the society where we're not appreciating them, the higher powers that be, but the government, everybody doubling down on not acknowledging our past in a way that we can actually share the history, in a way that it's like, okay, we do all know, agree, and understand that this has happened. You have some pockets of people who are saying, oh yeah, and I want to be an ally. You have another little pocket that says, oh yeah, and there's no shade to them, but it's like, no, we need to, like, as a unified front. If you go to, you know, some other countries where they have some like historical outlines of like, this is the history of the country, and it was messy. and it was bad, and we didn't do exactly what we were supposed to do, and we didn't accommodate for the people that we were supposed to. But we acknowledge that, and we're going to try to fix that, and we're going to ask questions. It's like we haven't gotten to that place.
Right.
We're still very much in a place where we're almost trying to prove that this is happening to us, and I think that always trying to prove that something is happening to you makes you kind of paranoid. And then when you're paranoid all the time, you're walking around, anybody bumps you, you're like, what's, and it's like,
people just on edge.
On edge all the time. And then being fed it all the time.
So the thing that I said before about like just people kind of just being soft in general, COVID took that to the next level because COVID became a psychological virus for people. Hopefully they don't put the flag on it and say, hey, Dan said COVID is just a mind disease.
No, like, that is not what is happening.
But nah, like that just didn't help people's just psyche, because even now people have lightened up, but like folks were on edge like crazy last year. And it's like you say, even the racial climate boiled over in the midst of COVID. Yeah. And it was just these layers of just...
It was so much.
It was so much to take in. It was like you're watching a movie. You're watching the COVID movie, but live. Yeah. Like literally.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Because if you would have told us in May that it'd be full-on riots come June, just a month and a half later, it'd be like, why?
Right,
like,
what are you talking about?
We're all people going to protest COVID?
Right.
It's like, no.
But yes, they are going to protest COVID.
Yes, they are.
Burn baskets.
Yeah.
Well, and it's too, I think it is being able to understand and accept other people's experiences, even though it might not necessarily be your own. Because for some people, COVID was a real scary time. Yeah. COVID was a real, like, detrimental time to people's family, death, sickness, the threat of people were losing like 3 people in your family at one time and in 1 week from one activity, and it's
slowly
like
but surely you knew pockets of people who lost people,
or you had it, or you were constantly on edge trying not to be a victim to it, or your loved ones being a victim to it. A lot of the, positions that people, had, like for Joe knows, but like I'm a part caregiver for my grandmother. She's 87. I have an 87 and an 85-year-old around me all the time. So this was like,
whoa.
Right. And this is just like a type of life. Like everybody isn't necessarily caregiving for an elder parent or grandparent in this particular stage of their life. So that's not anything that they can be empathetic to, or they can be sympathetic to it, but they can't be empathetic to it because they don't understand what your day-to-day is. Hospitals are like day-to-day. Appointments are day-to-day. Constant, health things are day-to-day. So then you take this large global health crisis that comes in and is like wiping people out left and right in the category that you live your everyday life. That's a real high level of anxiety. And then to have a polarizing opinion come in and just be like, it's in your head. It's like, I don't know what to do with it, and so it just creates a lot of, it created some of this psychological issue for everybody.
Yeah. Jen at High Rad Crafts specializes in unique handmade resin art, home decor, and functional items. They offer custom trays of all shapes and sizes, wall art, ashtrays, coasters, jewelry dishes, coffee table and mantelpieces, bookshelf and entryway decor, and much, much more. Fully customizable items with your brand logo, bringing whatever ideas I have in my brain and yours to life. Again, it's at High Rad Crafts on Instagram and Twitter. And then like if you look through history, when like the shit truly was hitting the fan, like during the World War IIs or the Depressions, and it's like you actually have, when there's very important things to focus on, things aren't easy. And like the common man is more serious and more like have to act like an adult about stuff. But it just seems like a lot of the things that are important to people that like are like pressing issues are just a sign of like, oh, it ain't nothing really bad happening in the world right now. Like, and COVID kind of, COVID kind of made people back focused on like, I was like, okay, like, I'll put it to you like this. in 2019, you could name 10 hot topics of just like social things of like, hey, what are the things that everybody is like concerned
about,
with?
Yeah.
If it was 10, if you name 10, maybe 2 of those things made it through 2020.
Yeah.
Folks stopped talking about all of the trendy things.
There's no trending topic.
Right.
Yeah.
The only thing to talk about was where I'm gonna work at next and how I'm gonna not get COVID.
Yeah.
And if you got time to think about anything goofy after that,
it was like,
then that's the mind disease.
And then
you
it
suffer
was
from the mind
the
disease.
race, and then the race thing too, and that all on top of it, and it's just being isolated and all of that, and just wow, it was something else.
I hope that our generation can truly, once the baton is passed, and we see a lot more younger presidents, congressmen, like people who are like, I'm excited to see 50-year-olds go in or guys get appointed that aren't already, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't be excited. That pulls the air out of any excitement I could be for any political person when they're just so old.
Yeah.
It's like, this dude doesn't care what I'm concerned with.
Yeah.
Like, so
and sometimes
I just
they do, but they can't necessarily relate. They can't really tap into fully understanding what it is. I will say, like, I have seen, you know, a lot of younger people going in for congressmen and going in for, you know, representatives and all that. But I do feel like that's a part of the struggle too, is trying to get more educated about our political system to fully understand it. I know that I'm not the best, but I do try to make sure I vote all the time.
Yeah.
I didn't even, for a while, I didn't know there were smaller elections to vote in throughout the year. You know, I didn't know what some of the positions, like what type of power they held, like throughout the year in the decision making. So I do hope that people who are, you know, more passionate about that really start to help create little pockets that will educate the masses on that. You know, I won't say it's not me, but I'm not particularly, politics isn't necessarily my passion, but I do understand its importance in society. So sometimes you just gotta not be a part of the problem and be a part of the solution.
In regards to that, politics is important to be aware of and to keep up with what the moving players are, but other than that, like, I don't revolve my life around it. I think it's easy to let it seep into your personal life, and then every step and every move you make be a political one.
Yeah. But if it's done right, I mean, if it's really, I don't think that democracy is fully being all the way done right from its inception or conception.
That's democracy is the suit America puts on.
Yeah.
Once we take that cape off at the end of the day, America truly is a different thing than that.
I hope that we can
hope
get into
for democracy.
It. Yeah, I hope that we can get into it, because I almost feel like if we're really doing it in a successful way, politics isn't necessarily a thing, because it affects us all. It's just what we do. So, you know, I will definitely say there's a lot of times where people voice their political opinion, but then also make an argument about not voting, and then I'm kind of like, I'm disengaged from the conversation, because to be quite frank with you, the only voice that matters is the one in the voting booth. The only one that's going to matter in making the change is going to be you kind of putting in some type of energy to solidifying the changes that you want to see. So if you're like at home complaining about it all day, and the one solution that you do have is to maybe speak, you know, write to your representative or put in your vote for who you want to be the next council person, but then you refuse to do that, it's kind of like, well, I don't know how else, because that's the only system that we have right now set up to make the changes that you really want to see. So I wish that it wasn't a thing, but it was just like a thing, like what we did, you know?
Well, one of the things that did happen, like I said a few episodes ago, is a good indicator that we're moving into the right direction is this whole state flipped blue last election.
Stacey Abrams, she really focused on that.
You know, my concerns and hoping that when the baton's passed that we do the right thing. Well, that's a good indication of, like, at least there is a unit of people who care and want to make change.
Yeah.
But then you also can't help but look at the flip side of, like, the things that are wrong.
Don't even look at them.
And it's just like, well, people also still are really weird. Yeah, like, writing, like, stuff. I don't know.
I think Stacey Abrams one time was talking about, and a friend shared this with me recently, but she was talking about what her passion was and what her focus was, the fact that it was overwhelming that all these things are happening in politics to deter us from being a part of it, to deter us from believing in the system and all of that. But she said she couldn't do anything about that. And I'm paraphrasing very loosely. She couldn't do anything about that, but what she could do is focus on, I can help people vote. You know, I can help people have this voice. And so she whittled down all of those feelings into this one goal for what she wanted to do and what march she wanted to have. And she poured in her passion into that. And as a result, I mean, she was huge in that, you know, it flipped everything. So I think too, if we focus a little bit more on our individual passions and what is that one thing that we can maybe dedicate ourselves to trying to come into fruition or make come into fruition, I think that we can make bigger changes than we really are giving ourselves credit for.
People have to pop the bubble that they, whether they realize that they've created around it or not, like people have to get out the bubble and folks have to be a unified society. And you know, unpopular opinion, you have to kick it with white people too. White people, you have to kick it with black people too.
You have to kick it with everybody.
People, you gotta kick it with.
You gotta kick it with everybody.
You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, bro. Like, why is that a thing? Why is that? Why does that something we have to still hope and yearn
it's doubled down that it didn't exist. A lot of the stuff is us trying. A lot of the stuff is us trying to prove that this is happening to us. And so if we're always trying to prove that this is happening to us, we don't want to really be in the rooms that don't believe that this is happening to us. And it makes it like polarizing. I don't really want to explain to you why you shouldn't touch me without me saying, and there's small nuances that are constantly happening that some people are not aware of, but they're also not open to making those changes, and you run into those sometimes more often than not.
Well, I think it's as simple. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think it's simple as what we started off with the whole woman and female thing. It's like, it's as simple as just not saying you don't want to be called a female, and not necessarily just you, but like if you have a large portion of women saying don't call me female, you just don't fucking say female. Like, it ain't hard. Like, and it's something that I feel like is boils over into other topics, like you're saying. Like, it's as simple as just not trying to be an ally, but like really opening your ears and feeling like, okay, this is what I need to do to like not be a problem.
Too, I think like not making it a blanket, because to be quite honest, I don't care either way. You know, and so it's like there are some people that they really care. There's some people that don't care, and so it's like not saying that everybody. And I think for me, that's a part of how I feel cancel culture and like I call it blanket culture, where it's like, because you know one person who feels this one way, or even 10 people who feel this one way, it's just blanketed for every single person who falls in this category. And it's annoying.
And it's a small percentage of people controlling like a huge chunk of the internet and social media. Like, all it takes is for like whoever the 50 cancel culture presidents are around the whole thing. As soon as they're ready to pull the trigger on you, you be the trend the next day. And it ain't no, hey, actually this is what I meant. Oh no, or hey, this is my side of it. It's just like, nope, you're gone. You just woke up. Oh, you hit the chopping block at 3 a.m.
like
my boy.
It's like
wait, what? So tell me what happened. So tell me why I'm canceled now, and tell me why I got 10 emails from my job showing me screenshots of all right. It's so weird.
It's like it feels like bullying.
But it's coming. It's become comical, and I think slowly but surely that's not going to be a factor anymore.
Everything's a fad. Everything's a trend now. I mean, some of it's important, some of it shouldn't be.
It starts out important.
It starts out very important, but it always just turns into a trend and be like, okay, well, let's see. Because the people who are trying to cancel folks out, they just want the clout.
Or it's some type of like strategic move for things that they are wanting behind the scenes, or things that they wanting to solidify themselves, or groups that they want to become allies. It's a lot. I mean,
let's just bring it in. Like, in the past few years, like trying to cancel. I'll give you examples of failed cancellations, because once you're established good enough, you can't be canceled. What you mean? You're gonna freeze my bank account like Kevin Hart said? Try to cancel Kevin Hart. Well, that was impossible. He has one of the biggest production companies in comedy film.
You talking about for cheating?
Yeah, no, for his remarks.
I'm sorry.
His remarks from 10 years ago.
Oh, I am following him because he hurt my feelings. I'm not gonna lie to you. So that was right. But
try to cancel him didn't work. Canceled Mario Lopez for some remarks he made about like his kids and if they were transgender, whatever. He just had an opinion on it. Next day he didn't have his job for having an opinion about it. That wasn't popular. So I'm just kind of giving you the timeline of like cancel culture when it's taken serious.
Yeah.
Well, last year Ellen got canceled. The woman who gives people $10,000 and the most praised
because
woman in daytime TV.
Is what it was.
So my point
is, mean, they're just mean. I mean,
don't work for them. Quit your job.
And sometimes I don't know. I can't say all the details, but also sometimes you just don't have time to babysit or whatever. Yeah, so it's like if I need what I need and I want what I want.
Be professional. I'm paying.
Yeah, and so I don't know exactly how she did it, but that was shocking to me. The cancellation of
So the irony of cancel culture is, you're next.
Yeah.
They're coming for you.
Yeah.
It started off as like just cancel alt-right people. Yeah. And then it started like, okay, well now we can cancel comedians.
Yeah.
And a lot of comedians have gotten fucked up through the Me Too cancel shit. Some rightfully so. And others just like, hey man, everybody's human. And then it bleeds more. It starts off as an attack on one side, and then you slowly realize that you're also in the pool of getting canceled too.
If your opinion
because
doesn't
if
align
Ellen's
with the
going what makes you think you're better than that? You think you're better than Ellen?
And she gives
you better watch your mouth, buddy.
And cars and
you better watch your mouth.
But see, for me though, I've never even like, we were talking about how we met in high school and all that kind of stuff, And I'm gonna be honest, I've been just seeing it almost like a high school. I'm almost like, I'm staying in my lane. I'm gonna try to treat people with kindness. I'm gonna try to be nice to people. I'm gonna try to be self-aware. I'm gonna try to be socially aware. If I have my feelings or my opinions, I'm not gonna back down off of them, but I'm gonna be open to if they do change. I'm not gonna just say that this is all what I feel and I'm never gonna feel anything different. I'm just going to try to do right by people. And I feel like at the end of the day, even if someone tries to cancel me, there's a level of resilience I'm going to always try to hold within me to rebuild all that stuff. And I'm not going to worry about it. Because sometimes I think the world could be overwhelming when you worry about all the things that you can't control.
Right.
And even with social media, unfortunately for like the babies who are coming up through it, it's like teaching them that everybody else's opinion matters but your own. But I specifically remember being in school, middle school, high school alike, reminding myself that actually nobody's opinion really matter. I mean, the ones that are trying to help you be a better person, because sometimes if you're hearing over and over and over again, like, you're really intense, you're really intense, you're really intense, you might be really intense.
Yes.
And so that might be something that you need to look into because we're all growing. You never stop growing.
No one ever tells me that.
But
right.
Miss Jabali didn't say that?
Yeah, right.
And now we go to Miss Jabali in Espanol. Fake woke in Espanol. What do you have to say?
I seen you in that restaurant that time.
But I mean,
say nothing to you.
It's stuff like that I feel like if we just kind of take away some of that power and don't let that cloud our minds to what our true passion and purpose. Everybody's not going to like you.
So I do want to touch.
Okay.
I do want to touch briefly on what you said about the younger kids that's growing up now.
Yeah.
I'm very concerned about them because unlike us, we got to see the end of like reality. We knew what it was like to go outside. It wasn't no cell phones. Yeah. It wasn't no Instagram. It wasn't no. By the time we could record fights, it's like 2004 on like a Motorola or a Sprint phone.
It was
the blurriest fight ever.
Yeah.
Not that the point is about
fighting.
Like, finally we can record these right, and not sprinkle salt on top and not add extra
effects
stuff that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right, but the kids these days, like you say, they have only known, if you was born in 2010, basically if you are 11 years old, you've only known about having an iPhone.
Yeah.
You've only known about Instagram.
Or iPad.
Only known about Facebook. Only known about YouTube. You weren't introduced to outside and getting ran home.
Some people are, but not really.
Yeah, right. But it's tough as a parent because all of this is so new. And of course, I'm not speaking from a parent's perspective. Joe can piggyback on this, but it seems like it's a little bit tougher for parents to kind of monitor and control. You can't control nobody, but seem like you're not very much in control if your kid have the screen
all the time,
which is access to just anything.
Yeah.
Whereas we didn't have that. By the time AOL came around, I was old enough to be watching stuff. Videos.
Yeah, stuff.
Rotten.com.
That's
the stuff I was watching.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a double-edged sword because you can't not let them have any technology. Like you go to school and they need a laptop. They go to school and they're doing work on tablets and shit. Right. So you can't not let them. So you can't say no phones in my house, no YouTube in my house, no. When the teacher when they're pulling up lessons, they're pulling lessons straight from YouTube.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, well we kind of need these resources. It's just it's hard to. Just kind of put it all in a box and monitor it and say, okay, this is what's good. It's what our parents tried to do, just in a different kind of times. Like it's instead of it being about, okay, we got Wayne Williams outside that we got to look for. So like, I don't know, we got to make sure that they're not going down no rabbit holes on YouTube.
Which I hate. You can't. They do not do good parental controls on any of those things. And I've tried. I mean, I'm not a parent, but I've tried just for like my godchildren or something like that. Like if I bought my goddaughter a phone when she turned 11, with her mom's permission and everything. But I tried to go in and make sure that everything was like checked correctly and like the parental controls was on the actual device. That was cool. But you know what? I could not get anything on YouTube to like not populate, not take you down the rabbit hole, and so it's like
that's what YouTube's designed for.
Yeah,
Google
but
and Facebook are they create the algorithm, they curate your experience.
I don't know what I would do if I was.
You can't at all custom. You can subscribe to the things that you want.
Yeah, but you can't
other than
customize.
That, when it's the up next or the suggested video, that's all.
That's
them.
it. And then the same thing for like TikTok. Like I know kids love TikTok and everything, and like the game, like them dancing and stuff. It's all like cool, but you can't like not have really explicit stuff on TikTok, and it's a rabbit hole. It's like the ultimate rabbit hole. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I scroll through TikTok and it's funny, and it's like the dances are good. Like so, I really enjoy that it's bringing back dancing into the mix in the culture. Because I mean, we've been missing that since Cranking Them Soldier Boys and stuff. But like I feel like I like that. But the other part that I don't really like is like I've been on TikTok and some really dark stuff come up eventually, and I'm like, dang, what's? And I go and clear my cache. Like I go and clear the algorithm because I'm like, what has happened? How did I get here? Why is this on my For You? Yeah. So I mean, and it's interesting too because when you get into society, for some people that's important, and for other people that is absolutely nothing. And I'm. I don't know.
Like I was talking with Elon, I've had my fun on social media, but like I'm not a fan of it. And the older I guess I am moving into like a very washed period of life where I don't care about nothing.
You're just getting older.
You're just getting older, man.
And
so like
matter.
I'm only on Instagram now again after being ghost for 2 years. I was drunk the whole time. That's a story.
Sorry about that.
It's to promote this show. I be having to log into Facebook to promote the show, and then like I like Twitter. It's cool, but like you say, it's just old. It's become old for me. Yeah. Whereas it's some people's whole life.
Yeah.
Like. It's like some people live their life just based off politics and social media, and then that'd be an accurate representation of them. They don't even know. People don't even know who they are. Yeah, truly.
Yeah. And sometimes in reality, like when you go into, if that person just don't have the app, they have no idea what you're talking about, or like, oh, that like it's not. I don't want to say it's not news because it is the new news for a lot of people in different age groups. But at the same time, it's like any other news channel. You just turn the channel. You don't have to necessarily you don't have to take that in. You don't have to take it in. And so I feel like there is a large group of us who are just kind of overtaking it in. And I'm not gonna lie. I think in my head when I have my children, I'm like, there's some things we're gonna take in, some things we're not. That's easier said than done because of where everything is. That's easier, way easier said than done.
My kid ain't no fast food.
But
I think.
But you know, that's kind of like with everything. You think you kind of know until you go through it. Hindsight is always.
Until your kids hate you for never taking them.
I'll
take them Chick-fil-A.
Until you don't got no time. You know what I mean? Or you don't have Chick-fil-A money.
That start making sense.
Right, it does because you got 5 or 4, however, whatever you did. So it's kind of like I do try to speak softly on it because you know you don't want to put out this feeling of judgment for people's choices on what they're making because a lot of people are just doing the best they can and they're taking in what they can.
I'm definitely guilty of that too.
We all are. Yeah. That's the whole thing. We literally all are. If we have an opinion,
the same way I hate cancel culture, I will cancel your ass on a personal level.
You know.
So
we all do it.
I'm guilty.
Giving ourselves a little bit of grace and a little bit of forgiveness. You know, I think that's just if we can practice that more often, we won't take things so seriously. Because I will say, like, we take things real serious.
Too serious.
All the time.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting to do that. Yeah. And I can see why people are tired. I can see why for like the kids, suicide rates go up. You know, best part of being a kid is laughing.
Yeah.
That's the best part of being a kid. Playing and laughing like to your stomach hurt over something stupid. Like
how about not going to school for a year because there's a pandemic?
I mean,
like,
that's already
rough. That's rough.
And nobody knows what to say to you about it because we all going through it together.
This is kind of my first time doing this too.
I've never had this either.
I've never been stuck at home either.
Right.
No, we can't go to the playground.
And how many people are saying that to their kids, like, and saying, "Listen, we going through life together." I've never done this either. I know I used to think adults knew everything when you're younger, because that's what they kind of made you think. And when I found out they didn't, I was so disappointed. I was like, I ain't never gonna tell my kid I know everything.
No.
Oh man, no, don't.
I'm
Please
never
be
gonna tell them that.
No.
You know, because I don't want them to be disappointed, and I don't want them to trust everybody like that either. So
kids are super smart too these days.
Yeah.
It's just that it's a lot for a child right now. It have to be a lot.
But they're so resilient because I think they still make it through. Like, kids are still laughing and playing.
This is what I hope and pray. The things that we have to live through societal-wise and the polarizing things, I hope that kids are just so smart that the things we go, it's comical to them once it's their turn to be 18 through 40.
Yeah.
When by the time we're 60 and we're passing the torch to them, they're gonna be like, y'all was so dumb.
From the same way that we are with them.
Right, from 2000 to 2025, y'all didn't know what was happening.
On. Yeah.
You know, so that's me being optimistic about the future. Because I can't help.
I think it'll be our grandkids, to be honest. I don't think our kids really gonna get much of it.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna still be in the fight. Because, I mean, we're still very much in the fight.
Yes, right.
You know, so.
And we're important. We're important players in the fight. We have to do more than just talk.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying let's go meet at the courthouse and just like, no.
Unless that's your passion.
Right.
Do not walk in your passion and your purpose.
Exactly.
It's politics and change.
Just know what you're talking about before you
walk
down to the
check your
courthouse.
sources. That's the thing that I feel like that this generation under us and even our generation has so underutilized because of social media that it makes my head explode.
Right.
Check your sources. Like a lot of the things, and that when we were talking about COVID and stuff, I mean, a lot of the stuff that they were talking about were just other people's blogs.
Yeah.
And it's like, guys,
like,
you have to check your sources.
So easy to actually read the link, the article and the link you're clicking or you're retweeting. Or you're like,
somebody will tell me some bullshit and it'll take me less than 2 minutes to find the article to say, no, this is not the case, or this is what's actually happening. And I'm like, this person didn't do that?
Yeah.
You read one thing that sounds favorable, and that's what I'm saying. That's a part of that whole curated algorithm that unfortunately Mark Zuckerberg and whatever the dude's name that owned Google, they've created this monster across Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
That's
and
true.
They are the big players.
Yeah.
Then you got Jack Dorsey over at Twitter, who has the biggest social
and then they all fall into other apps.
And and it just becomes this thing where they show you what they want you to see, and it's a numbers game. If 1 million people reads a fake ad or like a very strategically placed story that might not be relevant or to anything, 200,000 people gonna be intrigued by that. 100,000 people gonna engage with it, and for sure, 50,000 people are going to apply that to their life. They're gonna text their cousin. They're gonna text you about it. They're gonna post it on their Facebook, and before you know it, 5 million people. Before you know it, things go viral.
And you're defending it, and it's,
And the source of the viral be like an algorithm, a very strategically placed. Yeah, right.
Yeah, for real. So
also
knowing too that, like, you know, just because sometimes I think that we underestimate as well how we look to things that make us feel good, we just kind of keep building a case with those things only.
Yeah.
And it's like everything in life is not going to feel good. It's
not custom right.
And so you can't, and I think sometimes, you know, with social media, it's allowed us to really customize our reality and our opinion. And so we just keep, it's, what is that, confirmation bias?
Yeah.
Something, I think that's what it's called. But it's like you just keep on building the case for...
Everybody that agrees with me.
Like, everybody that agrees with me. I don't have
to follow nobody who disagrees.
Yeah, I don't have to engage with anybody. So when you meet somebody in real life who does not agree with you, then it's a challenge to who you are as a person, what your characteristics are, and that's not what it is. Well, they just don't agree.
We've been able to live in a very like coddled, feel good society, and like you were saying, people have to like check their sources. You can't double and triple down on like just the things that are favorable and things that make you feel good.
Yeah.
It's so easy to just Google if something is the case or not. Or you literally can look in the bottom left-hand corner and see, this says some news source no one's ever heard of.
Right.
It's like...
These folks don't have no sources.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, we want to close it off with you talking about your book.
Okay.
Because we have to talk about the book.
It's
crazy if we don't talk about the book.
It's just been such an intriguing conversation.
It organically led itself to that.
We went on probably the deepest conversation.
That's probably my fault a little bit.
No, and
and also like you probably think I might be a little bit crazy, but I'd be for real about how I feel about stuff.
Yeah.
But sometimes get a little ranty. But
we all do.
We all do get a little bit. But I've got faith in our generation.
Yeah.
I think that we are very intelligent. I think we're very, like you say, like resilience is a big thing. And just knowing what you're talking about is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of problems in today is people just ride with just misinformation and then you ride with it.
Hey Vibe Tribe, Melanie here. We are 10 days away from Wax and Wasted. 10 days away. That's it. If you hadn't got your tickets yet, go ahead and do so. waxandwasted.eventbrite.com or directly from our website, holisticvibe.com. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a whole experience, y'all. We're making our own candles. We're shopping with local vendors. We're eating bomb-ass food from the one and only Chef Mo. If you know, you know. Don't be at home on the 31st with nothing to do because you waited too long to get your ticket. Come on, check us out. Go to the websites, get your ticket now. It's going to be literally a movie. A movie, y'all. You don't want to miss out. Come get waxed. Come get wasted. And we promise it won't hurt.
Tell us about Chicken and Pickle and how this started, how you got into writing this. You said that this was motivated by what again?
Okay, so Chicken and Pickle, and we can do pictures of it later, but these are... So what Chicken and Pickle looks like. Chicken and Pickle was motivated by my goddaughter, actually. So the story really is when she was younger, like very little, she asked me one time, she has a grandmother that lives in California, and she has a grandmother that lives with her in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And so she was asking me, she said something like, Danny, if my grandma lives in California, is she still my grandma? Like, it was something weird like that. But she's like this big.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, yeah. And so I went and wrote this little poem. Some grandmothers live in big cities. Some grandmothers live in small towns. Some grandmothers live up the street and Nana's 3 doors down, And so just basically highlighting that there were different types of Nanas, grandmas, Nunas, all that. And that being that grandmother's more about, family, just kind of breaking it down in that little excerpt that I did. And so I really liked it. I'm like, oh, I think I can make a book. So I started kind of drawing, just kind of like these characters. I just kind of visualized some of these books. And have you ever seen The Real World of Richard Scarry? Do y'all remember those books or something?
I remember that, yeah.
Okay, so that was specifically like the type of drawing and graphic that I wanted to do. So I kind of started doing it. And then one day I was having a conversation with a friend about a Chick-fil-A sandwich. This is where the name had come from too. And they like a pickle. I like the pickle on my sandwich, and they didn't like the pickle on their sandwich. And if anybody knows me, I'm super goofy. Thanks, mommy. And I started like singing this little song about chicken and pickle or something. And all of a sudden it was just like Raven Simone, see into the future. And I could see all of like the characters just kind of flooded in my head. And like I imagined this little puppy, and there's a chicken with a dog named Pickle. And they were breaking down some really complicated conversations for kids to make it about this big. And so it was a dual thing, because I wanted to share with my goddaughter some of those things that, we assume that they know, we assume that they understand, but they actually kind of don't. They're just kind of putting it together. And then I also wanted to help be a conversation starter in families to kind of loosen up some of our adults a little bit, to really come into understanding big topics and not being so polarized, taking it down to a smaller level. So that's how Chicken and Pickle was created. The first set of books I did for emotional intelligence. I don't know, you guys know what that kind of is? Emotional intelligence?
No.
It's basically, there's a thing called like social emotional learning, and it focuses on like self-awareness, social awareness, self-discipline, responsible decision-making, and there's one more competency. But basically, it's about understanding your emotions, understanding how they affect you, and then understanding how they affect people around you. And then just being conscious about them in your interaction so you can move through your day. So like if sometimes something will happen and it doesn't go your way and you're completely upset. We all know that sometimes those things can completely derail your day.
Right.
Or you can take that moment to be like, all right, I know I'm pissed, and walk yourself through it.
Oh, I need to sign up for Discord.
For real.
I'm both things.
Right.
I'm emotional and intelligent.
Right.
I think more intelligent than
emotional.
More emotional.
But it's just about just understanding emotions better and how they affect us day to day as human beings. And so with kids, they go through so many emotions.
It's important for kids.
And it's so important because it can be a scarring. How many of us are really trying to untangle a lot of the trauma that has happened in our childhood? And it's emotional trauma. And it's things that we kind of inflict on each other all the time, every day. So that was the first series, focusing on anger, loss. I got one for getting a new baby, getting a new sibling.
We have that one.
Making friends, also, like introducing yourself, and manners. So being with other people, how are you not overdoing it with other people? And
how long have you been writing these books?
So this particular set took me 1.5 years. I'm also currently in school at Georgia State University because I am studying to get my master's in be a dietitian, so nutrition and dietitian studies. And basically, I want to create my next set to accommodate kids' nutrition and recipe books because a lot of times we're not operating at full mass. So we're not even at 100% physically. Yeah. But we're trying to do so much, and that's because we live in food deserts. Yeah. That's because we don't know what to eat, how to eat it. It don't taste good. Yeah,
that's a huge historical problem amongst Americans. And it just took a turn at some point in like the 80s, 90s. I don't know when it took a turn, but at some point, wide scale, Americans just became unhealthy.
I think it happened. I could be wrong. I'm mad, but I think World War II, what was the Industrial Revolution? Or
the 30s? 40s?
I think when they started first making microwave meals. And
right,
stuff.
Yeah, right.
And all the people started going to work. And so it's like, because everybody in the household is working now, we can't create the same type of meals with the same nutritional value that it had before. So we're doing fast food and all of that. That was a lot better
than the number I pulled out of my ass. The 80s, 90s,
but it got even worse. Yeah. And
that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that was the kind of start of like how our society even went into being so industrialized and everybody working every second of the day.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to kind of bring it back around so that we can, because that affects your cognitive ability. You can't make the right decisions if you're hungry or malnourished or not well fed. Right. Your minerals, our body needs vitamins and minerals, but we all the time are getting way less minerals than we're supposed to have.
If you live in Midtown or Buckhead, there's dozens and hundreds of different healthy, good food choices you can go to. But if you live on Old National, it's nothing but Bojangles and Popeyes and Cookout and El Rancheros.
And that's for 5 cities over.
Yeah,
that's Old National, which is College Park. That's East Point. East Point is just now coming up with those new dining and restaurants and things. But that's also Union City. Yeah. That's also which is still Atlanta area. Southwest Atlanta.
And fried food.
Wings and things.
No grocery store from Northside Drive all the way to Thornton.
And we just got
Publix. I mean,
Southwest Atlanta.
That's just there's food deserts all around the country, and it's just a common thing. But it ain't no food desert in this sprawling neighborhood I live in.
I wouldn't be able to make it to the expressway.
And also you go to produce aisle over here, stuff's fresh. You go to produce aisle on Cascade, and it's gonna be gnats flying around. Or go to the organic thing and don't dare buy nothing because it's been in there for 3 years.
And it really
buy some out of the organic freezer in Cascade and see don't that bitch be iced and molded over once you open it.
It is iced over iceberg.
I just don't get how those things
aren't ever addressed.
Yeah, right. Even the thing like you say with food desert, but health and diet has been a huge historical problem in this country, and I've had to change the way I've been eating. And I've been having to be more. Well, my stomach be talking to me, and once my stomach mad,
it's a wrap.
That's it.
Yeah,
I have to stop.
Yeah,
and that just comes with getting older.
Yeah,
but particularly with kids, or if you're in a situation. My point of bringing up Old National Food Desert is you be in a position to where you might know the right things to eat and still don't have access to them.
Right. And that's if you know the right things to eat.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be honest. I don't think if I had not left Southwest Atlanta, how was I going to get the exposure of all that Buckhead and Midtown had to offer? Mm-hmm. It's like you got to come to these areas to experience it, to be like, go back home and say, I don't know. And I think for me, I got really upset. I've gotten really upset when you hear people say, well, black folks just don't eat that. And you're like, I have been in this community for 33 years. Mm-hmm. I can with full certainty say, you never tried. Yeah. I know for a fact what's been on Cascade and Campbellton all this time. Right. And I know y'all ain't never tried to bring it up to us.
Cascade,
I never loved it. So I know you never brought it for me to try it. So, I just wanted to be a part of that. So these books took me about 1.5 years to write. Mm-hmm. Of course, the other books are going to take a little longer just because I'm working on my education piece, because I really want to bring education-based material. And that's the same way with here. There's a lot of good psychological tips, information, education, but it's in a real, simple way. Yeah. And everything rhymes.
A lot of adults might need to read these books.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So.
Well, I think it's awesome that you're writing these books. Like I told you before when we was coordinate coming here and stuff. I think it's super dope. I'm glad that you were able to come on and be able to promote it. Where can people find these books?
So you can find them on chickenandpickle.org. chickenandpickle.org. That's my website. But you can also go on Amazon. You can look up me as an author, Marian Davis. You can look up Chicken and Pickle. Put in Chicken and Pickle, Marian Davis. I am working on with my algorithms and all. Yeah. But that's going to give you the better search. If you're on Google, if you put in Chicken and Pickle Atlanta, that definitely brings up a really good search. But yeah, Amazon, Instagram is Chicken and Pickle. So they're in a lot of different places that people can order, but you can also always get in contact with Dan or Joe and hit me up. Before COVID, I was doing a lot of things at schools and meeting up with people like that, so I do love to kind of come out with the kids and read and be invited to all that stuff. So yeah.
There'll definitely be some Chicken and Pickle links on the Patreon and everything like that. The point of the show is everybody to come on. We will add a direct link to their business for you to, patronize them.
Yeah.
Let's definitely get some Chicken and Pickle purchases and get Danny into some classrooms to read these.
I think it's really cool. And like I said before, I'm glad that you could be the first woman, girl, female, double X, whatever grief. Whatever I'm supposed to say, right?
Whatever makes you feel right.
Whatever you identify with.
I knew that me and you would have just a very nice flowing conversation because we always do, yeah. Usually I'm hammered in talking about
but it's
subject
still
matter.
Even better. We still
but I'm so glad you can come on. I know you're not too. I know you're saying on social media you've been kind of like not too active. What are you on? Do you want to promote? Do you want to tell people where to follow you?
Oh yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. It's MDD Writes, like an author. Yeah, I'm on Facebook for my family. If you want to go to Facebook, it's Marian Davis.
We don't do Facebook.
Oh, okay.
We got
Look,
your
if you go,
we got your chicken and pickle on Facebook.
Instagram is Facebook.
I know it is.
What is wrong with y'all?
Okay, but it's like watered down.
Instagram,
Boneless Facebook.
It is not.
It's
I
watered
literally
down
log
Facebook.
in through my Instagram on Facebook. I use my Facebook for Instagram.
Facebook is the unseasoned meat on the grill.
Okay.
Basically, where Instagram at
the hot
least
dogs
it got some
at
lemon
least.
pepper, it got some shade room.
I'm not gonna
salt
step on y'all toes, so okay, don't follow me on Facebook.
No,
Definitely follow her on Facebook.
But yeah, Instagram, Facebook. I do have a chicken and pickle Twitter, but not gonna lie, I'm not on Twitter that often.
Yeah.
But really, Instagram is gonna be the main one. On TikTok, I'm at Danni2Love.
Okay.
If y'all want to go to my TikTok,
You go down a dark TikTok rabbit hole.
yeah, I don't post nothing, but when I do, you know what I'm saying, it's dancing.
Yeah, right. The little
Being
TikTok. Where your TikTok at, Joe?
It's on Tiff phone.
Y'all sharing these electronics is just hilarious
I just don't
to me.
have TikTok. She just sends me every TikTok.
Because they are funny sometimes. I'm not going to lie. For adults, I'm all down because it's really funny. For kids, I'm like this.
She sends me some good ones and it'd be like, okay, that's funny. But then she'll send me one and be like, okay, I saw that on Twitter 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So I was like, thank you for...
But it usually originates from TikTok and then it went viral on the other things. I'm telling you, that's where all the stuff is coming
that's where it's
from.
coming from.
Yeah, it's coming from TikTok and going to the other stuff. So.
Well, we had a great conversation.
Yeah, I really had fun. I enjoyed it. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm so glad you can come
Yes.
on. This worked out great.
It did.
And hopefully we can do it again soon.
Of course.
In the meantime, make sure y'all pick up a Chicken and Pickle book. We'll have some links for it. You can follow her. You know, obviously the words will be there. You know where to follow us. Yeah. Ooh, follow us. Like and subscribe. Oh, the alligator will bite you. Well, I guess we'll edit that part out. No,
I like the alligator. I'm not even gonna lie.
Right.
I need the alligator in there.
All right. We out of here.
All right, y'all.
Peace.
Bye.